Revolutionary salutations to the people of Zimbabwe, revolutionary salutations to all the progressive forces, not only in Zimbabwe but in the African continent and the progressive forces in the global north. Comrades, welcome to #Shaping Politics, yet another episode that we are recording today amidst a crisis that ever deepens in our country economically, politically and socially. The MDC is in trouble, the MDC alliance is in trouble, the MDC team is in trouble. The entire MDC brand itself is in trouble after the High Court ruled that the MDC alliance is not a juristic persona. It cannot be sued at law. Whereas the previous day, another High Court judge had ruled that the MDC alliance is a political party and should receive money from the Political Parties Finances Act. Comrades also witnessed the brutal murder of George Floyd by the ruthless, racist white police officers in Minneapolis in the United States of America. And we also witnessed President Donald Trump, the fascist who is ruling the United States of America, further spewing racist slurs on Twitter and fueling the racist struggles in the United States of America. So we are in solidarity with our American brothers and sisters, especially from the black community. Comrades, also during the week, corruption scandals, or what I term COVID Gate, has actually rocked Zimbabwe as the streets of Twitter and various media platforms or forums were filled with scandals that actually associate a certain company with violating procurement procedures and regulations and overinflating prices of personal protective clothing in the fight against COVID-19. Wopo Chingono and journalists in the Zimbabwe Morning Post actually exposed, and comrades are encouraged to read around and see what is happening within the context of the procurement of protective personal clothing in COVID-19 by the government of Zimbabwe. We are also equally worried that there is no transparency in the management of our public finances. There is no transparency in how the donations donated by Jack Ma to fight COVID-19 have been used by the government. So these and other issues are in today's show. Let us get into the show, comrades. Thank you so much for joining us and for the fantastic feedback that you continue to give us on the corridors of our YouTube channel. But today, let me address the Ministry of Youth, Arts, Sports and Culture and Recreation's $17 million RTGS dollar youth fund that was proposed or disbursed by the Ministry of Finance to the Ministry of Youth and made an announcement to by Kirsty Coventry on the 4th of May 2020 that a $17 million youth fund has been set aside, and young people who are into business, manufacturing, young people who will be into manufacturing protective personal clothing to fight or combat COVID-19 were the intended beneficiaries. Comrades, it is almost a month down the line. The Ministry of Youth is yet to give us yet another press conference or to publish the beneficiaries of the said youth fund. It is worrisome considering that Zimbabwe is traditionally characterized by corruption. Zimbabwe is traditionally characterized by lack of transparency. We expected Kirsty Coventry, an Olympic gold medalist, to do things differently, but actually and ironically, she has failed to publish who has benefited, how many young people have benefited. Equally, the Zimbabwe Youth Council, which was mandated by the Ministry of Sports, the Ministry of Youth, to administer this particular $17 million youth fund, has failed to actually tell young people in the country in financial statements, through financial reports, as to the number of beneficiaries and how that money was disbursed. It is shocking that of a recent survey conducted by the Zimbabwe Youth Council itself and other progressive youth-led civic society organizations, a greater majority of young people, number one, were not aware of the existence of that particular youth fund. Number two, they are not even aware how they are supposed to apply and who has benefited. We are worried that the bureaucratic bottlenecks that characterize the Ministry of Youth and in particular the Youth Empower Bank in disbursing these funds has also deterred young people from accessing this fund. Young people were expected to benefit 3,000 to 5,000 Zimbabwean dollars by May the 4th. And you and I know that Zimbabwe is a hyperinflationary environment. As of today, hyperinflation is at a record 736%, which means that 3,000 RTGS dollars, if young people are to get it today, what business will a young person start with 3,000 RTGS? What manufacturing will a young person start with 3,000 RTGS? But notwithstanding the amount promised by the Ministry of Youth, what is also more worrying is that the $17 million youth fund proposal by the Ministry of Youth does not cater for young people in the informal economy. You and I, if you read, and the greater majority of young people do read, if you read the recent labor force survey by the International Labour Organization, it clearly articulates the fact that the greater majority or a percentage share of labor is found in the informal economy, and that is which characterizes those aged between the ages of 15 and 35. So it means a greater majority of young people in this country are in the informal economy. Therefore, for the youth fund not to address youth in the informal economy, it's an assassination of justice. It's an affront on Section 20 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which obliges the government through all its agencies, including the responsible Ministry of Youth, to make sure that young people benefit from government economic empowerment programs, employment creation, among other things. So this fund has failed to serve its purpose. It has failed the litmus test of transparency. It has failed the litmus test of accountability as enunciated in Section 298 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which talks about the principles of good public finance management, equally read as well with the Public Finance Management Act, the procurement regulation laws of our country. So the Youth Fund Minister, Kirsty Coventry, we need transparency, we need accountability. Publish in radios, publish in newspapers, publish in various youth-led organizations that have WhatsApp groups and Twitter and Facebook. We are on Twitter, actually, Honorable Minister. Why don't you publish a list of the young people who benefited from the youth fund? After you publish it, tell us how they use that money and the monitoring and evaluation mechanism put in place by your ministry and the Zimbabwe Youth Council to make sure that those funds are not abused and those funds are not beneficial to members or youth members of the Zimbabwe ruling party, which is known as ZANU-PF, because historically and traditionally we are aware of the abuse of youth activities and youth projects meant for the entire youth in the country that have been abused by a political party. We are aware of the economic empowerment laws of Robert Mugabe, the Kurera Ukulendla fund that was set aside to benefit youth in 2015, in 2016, in 2017. But to date, not a greater majority of young people have actually participated and benefited from such a fund. So we need transparency, we need accountability. And without transparency and accountability, Zimbabwe won't be an upper middle income economy, because those who are supposed to be productively involved in productive or labor absorptive work, who are young people, are sitting idle at their homes, abusing drugs, failing to access education. So the youth fund should be revisited, and if need be, I call for an independent commission of inquiry led by respected lawyers in our society, respected forensic auditors, respected accountants locally, and most importantly, the use of the Office of the Auditor General to immediately audit how the youth fund has been disbursed and who benefited, how they benefited, and are they politically affiliated to the ruling establishment. Every young person in Zimbabwe should benefit, and every young person should not be left behind. Remember, Honorable Minister, that the Sustainable Development Goals, of which Zimbabwe is a party to, has one slogan which says, leave no one behind. We can't leave any young person behind, especially in the context of COVID-19. Remember, the young people who are in the informal economy are seated at home because of the national lockdown. And recently, the High Court of Zimbabwe ruled that the informal sector cannot reopen. This further means that the livelihoods of young people are threatened. What will be the end result? The end result will be mental health associated diseases. And where there's mental health associated diseases, you have depression. And where there is depression, you have suicide. We risk losing young people in this country due to depression, due to mental health issues. And considering that actually our healthcare system is not even functional and absorbing young people in the form of new recruitments as nurses, midwives, and other sectors or other critical players in the medical field, our young people continue facing a destitute future, which this present government is failing to address through meaningful policies that are participatory. More worryingly also, as a matter of urgency, this youth fund should be immediately stopped. If there are any disbursements that are going on now, they should be stopped unless and until there's transparency, there's accountability, and every young person is fully aware, from Zambezi to Limpopo, from Mutare, Chegu to Harare, every part of this country. All young people should be aware, especially young people in the rural areas. So, comrade, this is what I have to say. These are my comments. These are my views, which do not represent any political party or any organization, but my views and my views only on this particular issue of the youth fund. We are also worried about the continual corruption cases in our country surrounding the procurement of COVID-19 personal protective clothing equipment. We are worried, and we call on the Auditor General, Mrs. Mildred Shiri, to exercise as usual a constitutional mandate to audit the use or the procurement processes involving the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Health and other line ministries that are involved with procuring personal protective clothing, masks, testing kits, thermometers for our people in this country. For without transparency, without curbing corruption, and let us remember that we, out of 183 countries on the Transparency International Anti-Corruption Perception Index, Zimbabwe is on number 153. We need to do better in terms of corruption. We won't attract the much needed capital to revitalize our industries and help our young people get productive employment if the international community and international financial institutions and even domestically, people are not confident that we are dealing with corruption. The Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission should immediately, Justice Matanda Moyo should immediately institute an investigation working together with the Zimbabwe Republic Police, the CIDs of this world, the Financial Intelligence Unit, and also include the National Prosecuting Authority, so that those who have violated procurement laws, public finance management laws, are brought to book. And for the first time, we want to see people being sent to jail, at least for 30 to 50 years for corruption in this country. This will bring confidence among Zimbabweans in our own institutions. As the economy continues to bend, comrades, the majority of our people in our rural areas are suffering. Remember that the World Food Programme argues that 7 million Zimbabweans are in dire need of food aid. What has the government done so far to cushion our people from poverty? The president promised that we will get 300 RTGS dollars, but what will 300 RTGS dollars buy in this hyperinflationary environment? We call upon the government to seriously fund the Ministry of Social Welfare. Professor Paul Mavima should shape up. He said that he resigns. Professor Mutuli Nqobizitha, the Minister of Finance, he said that you resign or you increase the money that you are disbursing to the 2 million vulnerable households in our country, but cognizant of the fact that this country needs food. So, comrades, these are my views on domestic issues. Let us go onto the international arena. The brutal murder of George Floyd by the United States Police in Minneapolis is a worrisome trend. We have always argued that the American state was founded on violence. The American state was founded on slavery. The American state was founded on dispossessing the Native Americans from their land by the likes of Christopher Columbus, the likes of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. Some celebrate George Washington as the father of democracy. Some celebrate Thomas Jefferson as the father of democracy. I personally do not. Those were slave owners. They owned black slaves. So what happened in Minneapolis is reflective of the structural foundation of how the American state was founded. And for a material moment in time like this, where Donald Trump, a certified racist, is occupying the White House, the lives of black people in the United States of America continue to be in danger. And we call upon all Africans, progressive Africans, to occupy all United States of America embassies and demand that there's justice for black people in the United States of America. For after all, Black Lives Matter. Thank you so much, comrades, for joining us. We are in solidarity with the American people, but we're also in solidarity with those who are fighting dictatorship in Zimbabwe, dictatorship in Eritrea, dictatorship in Rwanda, dictatorship in Cuba, dictatorship in Egypt under General Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the Egyptian revolutionaries in their social movements, especially our brothers and sisters in the Muslim Brotherhood political party who are every day facing persecution like those in the movement for democratic change. Our solidarity goes to Cecilia Chimbiri, Netai Maroa, and Honorable Joanna Mamombe, who continue to be victims of state brutality. Ours is a brutal state which does not respect international law, human rights law, and domestic law. Chapter 4 of our Constitution guarantees that we have got the right to protest, the right to freedom of expression, the right to legal representation, the right to state protection, the right to food. These are daily being violated. We call upon Zimbabweans to mobilize themselves in their numbers and continue to protect and give solidarity to the poor and vulnerable in our society. Thank you so much. And those of you who are new here, may you kindly subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it widely on the corridors of social media. We also give our revolutionary salutations to the feed ZW for making it possible for us to have a studio to record this show in and the quality of the video that we have. Thank you so much, and may we share the video widely. I thank you.